Hello there. On behalf of the High Score 510 team, I would like to say thank you for listening to our show. As we prepare for our 6th season, and pumpkin spice season, of course, we would like to present to you our best of Season 5 featured guests. This is a compilation of conversations with some of our featured guests from Season 5. Please check out the links in the description to support our guests and their continued work. Also, be sure to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/highscore510. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
You are listening to High Score 510, where real talk are vernacular.
Racist ass targeting channels, right? I want some good shit. Target some shit towards me eating a salad. Nah, you want to see me get diabetes?
All right, Aaron. So just looking at your zip code, can you name 3 places that sell salads?
Ain't no such place over here. Trust me.
There's that new market right down the street, the black-owned market.
That market ain't a bad market. I give them credit. They ain't a bad market, but you know the problem is they ain't a bad market. That's all.
Is it about the land they built it on, where it used to be? What used to be there?
That's the problem. You know how like when you built something on an old Indian burial ground, you might get haunted.
It's like a crackhead burial ground.
It's like a crackhead burial ground, right?
Except for the crackhead's not dead. They just walking outside the front door.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you this: you buy Chobani's yogurt, which is all fat free. You bring it to the house, and somehow that shit turned into Yo Play. It's a crackhead burial ground. I went there the other day, Jerry. I'm not gonna lie. I bought a kombucha there. And then when I went back in my fridge to drink some, it was fucking Sunday Delight. They built a grocery store on a crackhead burial ground, and I'm getting haunted by high fructose ghosts.
So to answer that question, however, about how many African Americans come out of each hike, it ends up being about 70% African American on each hike. And the group started out primarily as an African American hiking group, but we've evolved, and we find ourselves being as inclusive as it's possible. Again, if you look at any photos of ours on Instagram or Facebook, you see like we are a rainbow, and that speaks to the content of character of like the group. But we also let people know, this isn't going to be a gentrified group now. All right, this group was created for Black people, is led by Black people, and is Black people centered. So having said that, if you do choose to come and partake in hikes with our team and our group and our tribe, then know who you're going to be with. Yeah. And we have an amazing amount of great African Americans, whether it be white, Asian, all across the board, that we wouldn't be the same without them. So I'm happy that they hike alongside us sort of each week. We're a better group because of them.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the places around the Bay Area, a couple of hikes that you highly recommend people that are maybe hidden gems that people might not know about, or good day hiking? A
great option for me and just a gold mine is Marin County. Marin County is a gold mine of hikes. It has the ocean, it has the green. It's where Muir Woods is. So many trails out there, but one in particular that I like to do is parking at the Panto Ranger Station, right there in Marin, off Imperial Highway. There's a parking lot there, and from the parking lot you can take a coastal trail, and that coastal trail starts out in the woods, but eventually you are hiking along a ridge that, to the right of you is the forest, and to the left of you is the ocean. Mm-hmm. So, you get the ocean vibes. It's outdoors. It's you get the vitamin D. You like, it's a mini vacation. You think to yourself, man, this is not the Bay Area. So that's a 30-minute drive. That's a 35-minute drive from, say, Lake Merritt. Okay. Mm-hmm. And it's funny I said it because a lot of these places we go to, and we after the hike we'll post pictures of the hike. We'll get those comments online. Where is this? Blah blah blah. I'm like, man, this is 20 minutes away from the house. Okay. This isn't that far. So in 510 Hikers does a great job of like posting where the hike was, posting trail maps that we use on the hike, so that even if you don't come with us, 510 Hikers, is inspiring, people of color especially to, decrease the level of anxiety and increase the level of interest. And what happens when we start hiking more? Well, we start talking about the values of hiking, and it more than the fact that it's just a great cardio option. I mean, when we talk about mind, body, and soul, I'm just talking about the body portion of it, but we're talking about, the mind portion of it. We're talking about the release of endorphin, the release of oxytocin. I mean, studies have shown that endorphin and oxytocin are two hormones in the brain that are released when you're out in nature. And those are, the love hormones. That's the feel-good hormones. What happens when you go back home and, your husband, your wife is maybe stressed from being at home, the whole day, but you filled up with oxytocin. Hey, baby, it's going to be okay. How's that? Let's go out to lunch. So we're the start of it. We're planting the seed of like good feelings and love in our community through the hikes. And then hopefully we're having people taking it home to their families and into their neighborhoods and let it spread.
Yeah. Well, that's why Aaron keeps his women inside. So
baby, I got some love to give.
I stopped going on hikes because last time I went on a hike with an ex-girlfriend, it went all bad.
Yeah. Oh, hey,
it did not repair that relationship. She chose the deep sea route over there in Marin, and we hit it at the wrong point, right? Like I ain't gonna lie, I like to do my hikes where when I got the most energy, I like to start low and go high. I don't want to end going high. I want to end. She started the wrong way. We started high, went low. Then she was using it as a way of working out. And see me, I was going to the gym every day. So I'm like, this ain't a workout. It was like it rained the nights before. So you had all the smells, the ferns were out, all of that. I'm excited. I'm trying to take my time, smell shit, and do the usual. And she over here trying to, get burn in the sweat. And it was all bad. If it wasn't for us finding soul food that day, that's how I found it, Jared, that day, that worst hike ever. Soul food in San Rafael, it would have been an all bad day.
Yeah.
That's an after hike spot we love to go to.
Oh yeah.
No doubt.
Shout out to Soul Food sponsorship. Come on our show.
But let me give you guys a local hike though. Joaquin Miller, Redwood Regional. I like Joaquin. Amazing parks. One trail in particular that I like, if you don't want to end up hiking with you don't want to end up parking at 10:30 in the morning there and having the entire parking lot full because everyone's out hiking. Off El Camino Mountain Boulevard is the start of a trail. It's Palos Colorado's trail. Again, it's right off Mountain Boulevard.
I've done that one. That is a great one. I took my dog on that one.
Trail, right? It goes right into Joaquin Miller Park. I mean, there's trees. It's green. It's within that canyon. Yeah, it's a great trail. But everyone doesn't know that trail. And hey, I might get in trouble from the locals by sharing that trail because for so many of them, that's a hidden gem. Yeah. But certainly that's certainly one that. And EB mud passes aren't hard to get. If you were to go to the EB Mud website, watershed website, it's not hard to pay like $10. You get a year pass, and then you get to access to a number of additional trails that aren't available for the general public, which allows you to hike with some friends without feeling like you have to dodge, the onslaught of, hike rookies that are, walking the trails these days.
Is this a good way to meet new people?
I love it.
I'm starting to see, like, as I look at the pictures and everything, it seems like you can probably meet just by you being here. I can see you're level-minded. Actually, with the very first thing you said, like you was talking about the anxiety and stuff at the gym, I was like, dang, he took that right out of my head. Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe we can meet like-minded people this way.
People have met on the trails with 5 Hikers who have gotten married. People have gotten people have had babies, not on the trail, but they met and then had babies later.
Well, Aaron would try to make a baby.
Conceive them on that trail. There's one guy here that somehow conceived 5 babies on one trail.
His name is Jason Derulo Grayson.
I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he had the energy because he was walking.
No, man. People have met and traveled the world together. I mean, there's people that I've met on these trails that I'll know the rest of my life. Yeah. And not every one of them is going to be my friend for the rest of my life. Right. Not everyone in the group even likes me. That's perfect.
I don't like everybody on this show, so it's perfect.
There we go. And I don't like everyone on the trail specifically, but think about it. That ends up being such an enriching part of the group that's so beyond just hiking on the trail. Because the truth of the matter is, you're not coming back to us because we showed you a trail you liked. You're not coming for that. You're coming because my buddy Raymond, King, who's probably the best trainer in the Bay Area, and gives up his Saturday morning because he wants to be connected with the group.
His name ain't Circus King, is it?
That's it. That's exactly what it is.
Circus go with you? Oh, I gotta come now. I know Circus from school.
Man,
that's my boy Circus.
Yeah,
Left-handed.
Small world.
He's a legend, man. And like you said, it's a small world. Yesterday we're on the trails, and before the trails start up, we break up in these little groups for 2-3 minutes, and we say, hey, we got groups of 6-7 people. We want to find one thing we have in common between the 6 or 7 people that are in each group. Okay, so 2-3 minutes later, we find out, hey, we went to this school together, or hey, we're all from here, we're all from there, and we try to promote this whole idea that it is a small world. We're more connected than people think, and this isn't like be on a BART train and everyone has their headphones on, on their phone, and no one talks to anyone. And matter of fact, if you talk to someone, you might think the people might think that you're a weirdo. We promote camaraderie and connection. It's social connection. The reason why you come to 5 Hikers isn't because of the trails. It's because of the social connection of it all.
I see, man. Yeah, man. You mentioned that. I was just thinking about Circus the other day. He was cool as hell, man. I wonder what he doing.
Yeah. Hey, every Saturday morning, man, you'll see him right alongside the fastest people on the trails and the slowest people all along me. The guy is just a solid human being. So
he is. He's one of those great people that you got to have in your life.
And those are, guys like him are the pillars of the regulars now, the regular hikers that come out week after week. Faces change, people come and go, but the culture of 5 Hikers is one of people like, Raymond King, or I can name Joe Scott. I can name great people that are solid individuals that make you want to I want to know you. I want to be your friend. We say, hey, if you come to the hike with 100 people and you haven't made a new friend by the time you get to your car, you've lost out.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I had one of the Cuddy, what is it? I can't get it out. Cuddy Corner shout out.
Too ignorant to say it.
Yeah, Cuddy Corner shout out was one of my Cuddy Corner shout outs, was trying to meet people and trying to find like-minded people. And it's something difficult to do because I'm in the trucking industry.
And you also in Arizona. I don't know how the hell you
I'm
there.
in Arizona. So, but just trying to meet like-minded people. I never thought of, hiking or going out in these groups to try to change the narrative. I'm stuck in my own little box. Yeah. I don't like getting out that much. So,
Aaron, you talked about hiking with a girlfriend one time, right? And I tell people all the time, hey, bring a woman to a mountain and go hike up a mountain with her, and you'll get to know her real quick.
Yes, yes.
That sounds like a great date.
Hey, same for women. Take your man out. I tell women all the time, take your man out, bring him up a hill, and see how he acts halfway up a hill when a little bit of sweat's forming on his forehead. See if he's still suave. See if he's still got good conversation skills.
You right
about
that.
I pull out my machete and start.
Exactly. That's when they run away from Jared. Like, okay, this motherfucker brought a machete to a hike around Joaquin Miller Park.
So Kwynn, we understand that. Well, actually, I understand because I seen you in a certain movie.
Yep.
And hearkening to your roller derby days, which we might get to a little more because I do have a question about that. But you were in the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey movie, I understand.
I certainly was. I mean, I'm telling you, roller derby, it pays in dividends. You think you're just about to do your little side sport, and suddenly it gives you all these opportunities. So, yeah, Harley Quinn, her actual character plays roller derby. That's part of what she does. And the writers and the director of that film really wanted to have a roller derby scene. So luckily I live in LA and they put that call out, and I got to be her. We're on the opposing team, but I sort of am her main person that she's going up against.
Her nemesis.
And her nemesis. And you can catch me in the first, what was that, 5-10 minutes of the movie? Get my ass beat by Harley. Breaks my nose.
Oh, snap. And so the one question is Margot Robbie as beautiful and pasty in person as she is in that movie?
Not pasty, actually. But yeah, Hollywood actresses are they're actresses for a reason. They really are beautiful. Like if you walk past them on the street, you would be like, wow, you would do a double take. She is gorgeous, and she's very nice. She was pretty good on her skates already. She did that Tanya Harding movie.
Yeah.
So she already knew, she knew how to skate on ice skates, which is very different. So she was pretty good already, but we had to teach her how to like move and block and sort of make her way through.
She was doing most of her own kind of work on the skates and stunts.
She had a stunt double who was also an ex-teammate of mine, who was a very young person who was like, yeah, what do you want me to do? Like she didn't, I was like, you're gonna break a bone on this set. She didn't care though. So like the really crazy things her stunt double did.
What was that like being on set of, like, was that over just like the course of one day, or did that take a couple days to get set up and shoot?
So that is the biggest set I have been on. I've done a considerable amount of roller skating stunts for shows and things like that, but I have never done such a huge budget movie. And that is a crazy experience. Like I cannot believe how much money Hollywood has sometimes. That's where I always come in. Like it was huge. The amount of extras that they had to pay just to stand there.
Yeah.
So many, like the amount of money that they spent, that was maybe 3 days of work for me. It was that the actual shooting was one day, but we had a rehearsal day, and we had, you have to go get fitted for your costume. That's another day. So it was basically 3 days of work. The funny thing about that movie, and I can always tell which of my friends I can always tell who really knows me versus who doesn't know me, is my character comes back and he flicks Harley off. And people that really know me are like, that wasn't you. What happened there? So what had happened was, you can work without joining SAG.
Yeah.
For I don't know, however many times, and then at some point they're like, no, you got to pay us. You got to be in this union. You're working as an actor. So I had completed my whole time on set, and they called me and they're like, oh, SAG just told us your must pay, and I was like, oh shit. I'm not paying. Like, I'm not trying to be an actress. Like, I'm like, how much is it? It's like $3,000 or something like that. And I was like, oh, I'm not paying that. And so they were like, like, what are you gonna do? Like, I'm like, I'm like, shit. And I'm like, they need my scene. Like, they can't just cut me out of it because they need that scene. So I guess afterwards they were like, oh, we need one more scene with Harley and that her nemesis. And so they're like, call Kwynn. And they were like, oh shit, we can't call Kwynn. She's not SAG. So they ended up casting some other girl to do that scene.
Yeah,
so
that's
your SAG call.
That's when unions go bad.
Yep.
They filled you in with some other black lady.
Yep. Who looks nothing like me.
I saw that. I was like, was there two black ladies on the
Exactly.
Like, was she Quinn's sister? Or like, was she bad? You broke my sister's nose. Fuck you.
That's
bitch.
right. That's right.
That's the question. Like, are you happy that they chose another black woman and not just found like some Puerto Rican or something?
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
not even. They would have found.
I'm really good with it. But yeah, another black actress.
I'm almost see, you almost scared me. I was afraid to tell you that one of my sisters used to work for SAG for years.
They're like the mafia.
Well, she moved. She's now with the Directors Guild now.
All those guilds, they work for you, but they want their money.
Yep. Kept her employed, so I couldn't get mad at that point.
Exactly.
So for SAG, you have to pay like a upfront dues to join in after a certain amount of time doing screen work or film work. Yeah,
like they basically don't want people just working rogue out there, and what they do is they make sure that people are being paid the proper amounts, and because the productions will screw you over as easily as they possibly can, so they make sure people are being paid the proper amounts, that you're getting your residual checks, that that you're only working the amount of hours a day that the guild has said is okay for you to work, that kind of stuff. So it's great, and if you want to actually be an actor, you have to get in there. But that's not my goal. And there are other perks that you get along the way. But I'm in the Writers Guild, so I'm like, well, tell me what the different perks are. Like, how are they different? And my perks are the same plus what they're getting over there. So I was like, I'm not paying that $3,000. I'm sorry. And again, it's worth it for somebody that is actually trying to pursue that as a career, but
Yeah.
it wasn't for me.
All right.
Wow.
Well, let's move on to our next topic. One Night in Miami came out to much praise on Amazon Prime Video. It's a story about a meetup of 4 great Black icons of the time. It was written as a theater piece to tell a hypothetical of what that night was like, where Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, and Malcolm X all were together in Miami the night that Muhammad Ali beat Sonny Liston. The piece delves into some interesting things about what those conversations and interactions would have been between the 4 who were all more or less at the variable peaks of their fame and acclaim at the time, and what it could have meant to the civil rights movement and the continued struggle of Black people at the time. So did you guys all see the movie? Pedro, did you see the movie?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you watched it? You really did. It sounded like he lying, man. That sounded like a straight lie. I can tell that's a lie.
he sounded all official. Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
What do you mean?
That's all I know. He lying.
I'll tell you about the beginning. Beginning, there was lights, cameras, somebody on stage.
Somebody on action, and then somehow Pedro on his version got to see the director thing clap
I
down.
think somebody was holding a guitar. I was like, wow.
All right, stand-up comedy, Eddie Murphy or Dave Chappelle? This is all personal opinion because it's a win-win. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, no, they're both absolutely. They're both great. To me, though, like Eddie had a short stand-up window because again, he blew. Like he got to where he didn't actually have to do stand-up.
Yeah.
Chappelle stayed in the comedy trenches his whole career. You know what I'm saying? So that's what led to him being where he is now. But in my opinion, Raw is top 3 albums of all time. Like the hype, how high Eddie went with Raw, I don't know if Dave has reached. But like the longevity of the career, I would say you would have to give it to Dave, stand-up wise. You know what I mean? But to me, what Eddie Murphy did in Raw, yo, that's like the comedy training tape. You know what I'm saying? He put everything in there, callbacks, like the bit. It was to me, that was one of the greatest. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
We used to watch that in the dorm. We used to watch it. We're all in Delirious. Just, I swear, it felt like we watched it once a month. Both of them, once a month.
That's funny. That's how me and my friends were with Coming to America. That was like our movie. We wore that out on VHS, then DVD, like, you know what I'm saying?
It's funny you say, like, listening to things. Aaron, you remember us listening to the Eddie Griffin album?
Oh, we listened to that.
We wore the Eddie Griffin album.
My brother-in-law had it on CD, so we dubbed it on tape. I think we both, the same night, Pedro dubbed it and I dubbed it. So we had our own tape. And we just wear it out in the car.
Another very underrated comic, yo.
Yes.
Eddie Griffin. Yeah. Eddie Griffin is a beast. You know what I'm saying?
No, I like Dave Chappelle. I think like you're saying, Eddie Murphy had the opposite of like what Leslie Jones had. He was able to like, you know, take the next step in the venture of becoming a star and making money. But then, you know, Dave Chappelle, my brother told me a story. He was in Sacramento around the time Chappelle's show. It was during Chappelle's show was out, and he went to a show. Dave Chappelle was doing a stand-up show, and people just kept screaming, "I'm Rick James, bitch," during the set. And so he like got frustrated and like walked off, like, cause he was just like, he's trying to do his stand-up and he's trying to work on the craft that like is like his craft. And so he left, and then people like kept screaming Rick James, and he came out and he's like, hey, like, I understand y'all like Chappelle's show, you know, it's its own thing, but like he basically said, this is what I work on. This is my passion. You know what I'm saying? And you know, for y'all to keep interrupting it and screaming shit out from the show, I appreciate the support, but at the same time, you're interrupting me from doing what I love to do right now. So I found that pretty an interesting point of one of the reasons why he probably walked away from Chappelle's show, because he had all kinds of, you know, people that, you know, the show maybe wasn't intended for to appreciate as much, screaming out every little one-liner from his show, but then also like, you know, I think he loved his craft, and he had that crossroads in his life. But Chappelle,
also too, the Suits was trying to get involved. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. For like the first season and a half, they never came down to him recording. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't even actually know what was going on for the first year and a half. You know what I'm saying? And then once it blew up so much, they was showing up every day saying, put this in there and let's do this, have this. And you know what I'm saying? That's one thing I really respect about Chappelle is he is all about the art form. You know what I'm saying? Like to walk away from $50 million, you got to be about the art form. You know what I'm saying? And then he ended up getting it back when he came back, but he didn't know that at the time. He didn't know when he left and came back, Netflix was going to be waiting with a $40 million deal. You know what I mean? So he took a chance and it worked out for him. And I always like to see that because he basically bet on himself. Because when he left, no one knew he was going to have the comeback that he had. You know, it looked like he was leaving his career on the floor, you know?
Well, yeah, especially the way Hollywood works. Like if you wrong one big enough producer or company, like they can make it to where it's going to be hell to get a job anywhere.
I don't know how he walked away from that 50 million because ain't no way in hell I'm walking away from 50 million.
Well, you know, what's crazy is that in like
roll me away from dead.
It's like 2008 or 9. He was kind of making like he was starting to make appearances and he was in Oakland. He was at the New Parish, shout out to New Parish sponsorship, the New Parish in downtown Oakland, where he did like basically it was like at least 2 weeks of like 2 shows a night at this spot. He was there every night for 2 weeks.
He did his Prince thing.
He did his thing where he did a small, like this venue had just opened up. He was friends with 2 of the guys who were running the venue. And basically they got him there and like it was sold out every night for 2 weeks straight. And then because it was so popular, and lines around the block in this little spot that like as downtown Oakland starting to kind of we wouldn't say gentrify, but reinvest in itself.
Revitalization
of like this new little venue, which was, you know, just starting out. Like he helped give that place a push and get it back on the map. So that was kind of dope. And then, like he did 2 shows sold out all over. And then he came back for like another, like 2 weeks after that, like later on, like a month later, did another 2 weeks.
He did what Prince did in LA. You know, that's it's like you said, Kareem, that's like a nod to someone who really likes the art or something. Because remember when Prince did all those shows, he stayed in LA after he did the Forum. Remember, it's like a year before he died, he like stayed in LA and he performed every night at like what was it, House of Blues? It was like 5 times a week he performed. He didn't make the show expensive or anything. You know, my family are big Prince fans. They end up going. I think my brother-in-law said he went to like 10 of them or more, right? My sister went to a few of them. My other sister went. My niece went. They just kept going. And it was just like, it just makes you say that, oh, he really likes the art of the performing. My sister got mad because he kept bringing the stars on the stage to perform, to sing, help them sing the songs they couldn't sing. But that was like Chappelle performing at that little house. He just likes the art of that. Of
the process.
The process.
Yeah, he likes the process because that's what I was gonna say. That's one thing I love about Chappelle is his process, man. He's all about the grind. Cause like what you said about what he did in Oakland, he did the same shit out here at the Comedy Store. Like he had this belly room show. Like the belly room is like the smallest room at the Comedy Store. It probably hold 30, 40 people. You know what I'm saying? And he was doing a belly room show for I want to say almost close to a year. And then that became, because his Netflix thing, he put out 2 specials on one day on a New Year's, like a New Year's Eve. It came out a few years back. Like that was his 2 specials to Netflix for the 40 million. And one of those specials was the one that he had been working on the bedroom. You know? So even as big as he got, he could still go to like a hole in the wall spot like that and create his process. Because a lot of times, once comics get big, they produce they set in like theaters. And that's a different form of comedy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lot harder to make 20 people laugh than it is 2,000 people or 20,000.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That 20-person laughter that Chappelle's getting in them rooms, that's the real shit right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
you can take that anywhere, you know?
Dave Chappelle's my favorite comedian all time, so you know I'm biased in that way. But I think they're both legends that, you know, continue to expand the opportunities of where comedy can go in their different ways, you know. And so, you know, you got to pay respect to all of them and how they, you know, impact the scope of what this craft can be, whether it's in, you know what I'm saying, some form of stand-up or some form of like sketch comedy or some form of movie making, whatever it is, they're, you know, carving out different avenues by which, you know, you can you can then have these new forms of comedy grow off of it. So,
and new people coming behind them in these lanes that they open up.
Exactly. Do you think Richard Pryor could get away with saying this these days in the cancel culture?
In LA on TV, they be selling niggas.
Yo, man, that dude was way ahead of his time, yo. Like, I mean, he would figure out a way, yo. He was that brilliant. He was just a communicator. It was just at that time, that was pushing the envelope. Like, he would push the envelope today, however close, he would get as close as you can to that line for today.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And maybe even go over it a little bit. But for that time, that was the line.
I think he did a great job of pushing that line to make it funny, because I think there was a lot of fear between, with race relations in America, cultural, relations in America. Like, he was able to, I seen white people laughing at that show. I seen black people laughing at that show. He was able to deliver something that was so poignant, make it, funny to where people could laugh at it, but also like kind of like what Chappelle does a good job with, like come away with like, oh shit, that's something to, think about. I didn't think about it that. Right. Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but that shit was funny. But also like there's real truth to it, and I think that's the craft of a great comedian is you tell the truth through your jokes, but at the same time you make it digestible and funny, so people aren't sitting there feeling like they're being lectured on how to live and how to be in some way, but you get them to gain some new understanding and perspective through your jokes. The amazing ones are really good at that. So
absolutely.
Don't forget, cancel culture was starting a long time ago. It just hadn't built up steam, because remember when your boy Reggie White said this:
if you go to Japan or any Asian country, they can turn a television into a watch.
And that was the benign thing he said. That was one of the nicest things he said.
True. I wish we had that whole set.
Let's get to our Traveler's Guide to Ireland, the good, the bad, and the WTF. Since we have our Irish contingency here and they are well-versed in their homeland, they're going to give us some tidbits, since it is our St. Paddy's Day special, on places that you want to go, that you probably don't want to go, and things that you might say, what the fuck, when you get there? Kind of like the Lions tea commercials, but those are gone now.
Yeah, that's what faded out naturally,
Oh, the tea's no longer around?
No, the tea's around, but they stopped using the minstrels.
They ventured away from the minstrels, the minstrel dancers. Let's go ahead and start with the good. So, the good. Let's start with Ian Kelly. Kelly, what is one good thing that people should check out in the Traveler's Guide?
Most of like the national museums, or all the national museums, are free, so you can just kind of pop in and out. A couple of really good ones in Dublin. You have like the Archaeology Museum, so you can go in there and they have all sort of Celtic jewelry that they've discovered from like a lot of the old Viking suits of armor and stuff, and longboats that they've excavated in Dublin and around the country. And you can kind of pop in and out of there, and it's right beside like the Irish version of Capitol Hill. It's like the Houses of Parliament. Mm-hmm. So either side of it, there's one's the Archaeology Museum, and the other one's like the National Library and stuff. But free museums, and then you have all the castles and stuff like that. There's no shortage of like historical stuff that's pretty accessible and free. Yeah, hard on for some castles. It's one of the places to go.
I've been wanting to have some castle sex, so I'm gonna find me a nice, beautiful white woman out there and say, let's go up into this rook. Paul, what about you?
I think you're fairly safe if you head down to the West Coast anywhere. Any of the little cities down the West Coast, Galway City is nice. Down to Cork, if you go down south, it's nice too. I mean, you'll find pretty much your typical Irish town, bars, that stuff. You're pretty close to a nice beach onto the Atlantic and everything out there. Surfing's pretty big out in the West Coast. It's a bit cold though, so just bring a wetsuit.
Oh, okay. How would you compare those cities to, like, if you were to compare them to like any California towns and cities, like the vibe?
Probably San Diego-esque without a lot of the weed culture.
And
not as big.
And without the boring ass people of San Diego.
Yeah.
Most boring city ever.
Yeah, Dublin's like a big European city, like a major capital. Galway, the city Paul was talking about on the west coast, which is only a 2-hour drive. But that's more like the cultural capital. It's a very small city. Lots of it, like medieval streets and pubs, live music, and like tons of like outdoor adventure. And there's a big university there, so there's always like the town is always hopping on every night of the week.
So Galway, Galway.
Yeah, anytime I go home to visit, we always end up either renting a car or getting the train out to Galway.
The King's Head, is it?
Let me tell you.
The King's Head pub, yeah, or the Keys. That's
what you've said already lets me know it's nothing like San Diego.
Yeah, Paul's full of shit on that. Yeah, nothing.
I made that up, to be honest.
You know
I've never been to San Diego.
No. I was gonna say this. You know what? You might be right, because I don't know if it's the weed that makes San Diego, but San Diego does have that like pub culture and pub life, but the people are just like one of the most boring places.
They just got breweries. They got a bunch of breweries.
Let's go sit in a brewery and not talk. I mean, at least what you guys made it sound is way more exciting than San Diego.
Yeah, and there's a city down the bottom called Cork, which is like the Irish version of Bakersfield.
Oh, that sounds very interesting.
So that's I don't want to go. That's not part of the good.
You'll see if you have any listeners in Bakersfield.
Shout out to Bakersfield sponsorship.
Or Cork.
Cork.
The armpit of California.
Patty, how about you? What's your good?
My good would be for any Star Wars fans, go out down to Kerry. So the most recent Star Wars movies, episodes 7 and 8, was filmed on Skellig Michael, which is an island off the coast of Kerry. It was an old monk. It was a monk
the monastery, yeah.
Monastery, yeah, that's it. So that's a big thing now in Ireland. Big tourism spot. There's also on the way down to Kerry, there's the Rock of Cashel, which is a massive castle in Tipperary, which is a county in the province of Munster, and this castle dates back to the 4th century, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Dope. And you talking about this is Kerry is where Luke Skywalker was drinking Lorax nutsack juice.
No, that was the island, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the blue juice.
He was jerking off the teat, and then he was fishing with a pole that was like 80 feet long.
Yes.
What that got in the water over there? How might need to go out there? Because that motherfucker was over here pole vaulting with a blade and killing 180-pound fish.
You know the porg things in that movie? They're like, they were just added because the local like puffin bird population was too big. They couldn't CGI them out. Mm-hmm. So they were just like, we'll just create these characters so we don't have to bother about cutting them out of the movie.
Wow.
What?
That was right, because of the puffins. Wow.
Okay, so the puffins live over there.
Yeah, the crazy colored beaks, yeah.
I always wonder where the puffins live. That's why they're on the beers, right? Those are puffins. Those are puffins.
What's that called again?
That's a toucan.
Toucan.
No, they have that puffin cereal at Trader Joe's. You never had the puffin cereal?
Yeah, I've seen the puffin cereal. Yep. I always wonder about puffins. I was like, where are puffins from? I didn't realize they're from Ireland.
Now we know. We learned something already, Jared. See?
They're not only in Ireland, though. Are they they're in other places too, right?
They're only in Ireland.
England. They fly.
Yeah. Can they fly?
British Isles.
British Isles. Okay. All right. Dope.
That's cool. They catch them with nets.
So they don't fly very well. I don't think they fly well.
Other good stuff. You've got Newgrange there, which is like this was it's old like burial chamber that's about 2,000 years old, or in the pyramids. Mm-hmm. And wherever way that they built this, there's a tunnel that goes all the way down to the center. But was it on the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice? Wherever way the sun comes up, it hits the tunnel like straight on. Apparently there's like a 10-year waiting list to get a ticket to see the sunrise go down there. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Lots of history shit if you're into that, which I am. So
all right.
Also, Trinity College, the library inside Trinity College is pretty amazing too. And see the Book of Kells, which is a Celtic Bible that's normally held there. When I was back last year, it wasn't on display, but normally it's on display in the library within Trinity College.
Yeah, Trinity's the college that Paddy wishes he had gotten into. But
I went to two universities. That's how smart I am.
Yeah, it's a big college in the middle of the city with the old Book of Kells. But they also filmed a bit of Star Wars in there as well. Or they took that long room library as the Jedi temple in the prequel.
So there's some pretty cool architecture in Ireland. That's what I'm getting.
Dublin would be the best for architecture. Mostly Victorian, right?
Yeah,
Victorian and Georgian.
Yeah, that's when they started getting a lot of money in. They started becoming a pretty wealthy city then. But
and if you go along Merrion Square, you see these Georgian houses, and the windows are on the first floor are larger than the windows on the top floor, and this was because of the daylight tax brought in by King, however, I don't know. But the poorer people would live upstairs where the window light wouldn't come in as much compared to downstairs.
Okay, interesting. All right. Are all the streets cobblestone out there?
In Dublin, in Dublin, there's a lot of cobblestone.
The whole island is.
I mean, it's like, I was wondering what was going to be the stupidest question.
When it rains, they bring in the road, man.
Yeah, that's fucking wild.
Fucking Jared.
Do they have color TV over there?
I only had color TV until I came here.
I'm surprised. Does everyone wear wool knitting sweaters out there? All streets cobblestone with that. I have to drink for that stupid ass question.
You've been on tour with Andre Nicotina. We know Yayo for Yayo, Zion A+ from Hieroglyphics, and Locksmith. I just want to know, what's like the wildest experience or story that you've had on tour? City, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was going to ask something similar to that, but you made it a lot worse than my question. Go ahead. We can't go backwards, so you got to answer.
How many dead prostitutes were in the trunk?
Exactly.
I'm gonna make it one that doesn't incriminate me too much, other than over drinking. I think I probably kind of blocked out the most incriminating ones. You know how you kind of block out those things and pretend that never happened, type of shit. It was on one of my solo headlining tours, so we were doing small spots. It was 5 years ago. The small town called Lompoc.
I know Lompoc. It's a jail there.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Shit, I was gonna say that's the only thing there. We performed in the prison.
You doing some Johnny Cash shit?
It was one of those towns where there was a bar that somehow we had gotten in cool with the manager of this bar, and she would just pay us to come there, pay us $500 or some shit, which at that point was shit, we're getting paid to go rap here. And she would just have it would be free entrance. So no, people weren't paying. So we'd just be the entertainment in the bar, but then people would come because it was free and it would be sick. So we just kept going back there, but it was it's an interesting town. So it's like a square. It's like the square on the map. There's this huge prison there. And then it's just the rest of the town is just kind of built around the prison to be houses and stores a little bit. It's a little grimy out there.
I can imagine, man. Yeah.
Well, at least you got a bunch of security guards there, right? Because everyone works at the prison, right?
We're about to hear this story. That might not be a good thing, Jared.
But it was a situation where we had my logo, or my mascot or whatever has always been a panda. And so this tour, I had an album called the Good Panda EP, and this was the Good Panda tour. And so this one girl showed up in a panda outfit. At first, I'm thinking this is tight. I'm like, hell yeah, this is the type of fans I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Come out and represent and shit. So the show ends, we're it's a group of us, we're all partying and shit. We invite everyone come back to the hotel. I was fucking lit. I was hella faded this night, which always seems to happen to me at this bar. People would just give me hella alcohol and I'd drink it. So I ended up throwing up and passing out in the bathroom that night, literally on the floor in the bathroom. But apparently this girl, the panda girl, went out in our hallway and pulled the fire alarm. It was running up and down that hallway, pulling the fire alarm. I didn't know about any of this until the morning, because I was literally passed out on the floor, fucked up. The whole hotel had to exit because of this girl at like 3 a.m. and everyone had to go out in the parking lot. So we had to like dip out of there hella early in the morning, pretend we weren't.
Pretend you weren't part of none of that.
Right. But it was one of those situations where I got told about this all at like 8 a.m. Like, yo, Jay, get up. We got to get the fuck out of here. Like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I didn't even hear any of this the night before, but.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, it made it even crazier if that was just her normal wear.
Well, that's what I found out. That's what I think I found out afterwards is I literally don't even know if I couldn't even tell you now if she wore that shit for me. Or maybe she saw that like the poster said the Good Panda tour, but she didn't even know who I was. I don't think she was a fan of me is what I'm trying to say. I think she was a wild ass girl that just wears that on her Friday night or saw the poster with me in a panda suit and was like, cool, I'm going to wear that too when I come out this night. Or I don't know, but she was not looking out for my best interest. I can tell you that.
So to bounce off of that, where's your favorite city you've gone to?
Shit, that's hard to say. Maybe Denver, Colorado. Like Denver's always showed me mad love. And I think the weed smoking thing, we all get down very tough on the weed smoking thing together. And it's always been sick. But like all the towns that hold this most special place in my heart are like these little towns. Like one that always pops into my mind is Idaho Falls, Idaho. It's one of those towns that you go to in between Boise and Salt Lake City, Utah. One of those in-between towns. It's like you're trying to go from this college town to this college town, but it's a 12-hour drive. So instead you stop here and do one show here.
Yeah.
And it's like always those little fucking weird towns that I love kind of that it's like I would never be here and I would never see you guys if it weren't for this rap music right now. Like I have no reason to talk like that we would ever cross paths and talk. But now we are. And it's like the fun shit for me is like going into the diner the morning after and like sitting there and watching people in this little ass town who are just living their lives there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate sitting in the hotel room. So if we show up and there's extra time, I just walk around town. And it's like one of my favorite things to do. But it's so much more fun in these little weird ass Flagstaff, Arizona.
I like Flagstaff.
I like these like the little weird places that I kind of would never be otherwise.
Yeah,
that's
for me. That was Davis.
Shout out to Davis, baby.
That was a knock on Jared.
UC Davis, baby. That's a spot. That's a spot. That's where I felt alienated from my Asian brethren. Shout out sponsorship. What's the worst place you've been to though? Like the worst. Like you're like, I can't wait to finish this show and get the fuck out of here.
I think Grand Junction.
Colorado.
Also.
Oh man, where Pedro at?
Yeah, that's where Pedro. That's where Pedro.
So that's his truck stop every day. He's actually going there tonight.
It was a weird ass show. It was one that we did. I'm not gonna say who I was opening up for because I don't want to put any salt on their name. But it was like a big venue that was fucking empty. Like it was like 1,000-person venue, and there were like 53 people in there, type of thing. Mm-hmm. I think they just lost their liquor license like a week before or some shit like that.
It sounds like the Oakland Metro.
Yes.
I was opening up for a bigger artist and we were getting good, like 400-person crowds most places. And that one was just like, what the fuck is going on here tonight? And then talking to people, they're like, oh yeah, everyone's down the street because you can't drink here anymore. Like, fuck this place. But we still can't. We had to come see you still or whatever, And it was just weird. It was a shitty ass show. It was super weird. And then we went to a restaurant and we went to like it might have been an IHOP or something like that afterwards. And there was like a group of 12 of us. We were sitting at 2 different tables. The waiter came over and was like worried that we were two like rival. I don't know if they would use the word gangs, but it's damn near they were like worried that we were two like rival squads that had beef with each other and some shit. Because it was like 2 tables full of like big, mainly Black or Latino dudes in this white little town. But it was just like, how do you guys not realize that we're like together here? Like, I don't know. It was
because I'm sure somebody had to be bouncing table to table talking.
Right. It was a weird situation. And it was like one where we ended up at the end, just like had to get up and walk out. It just felt like kind of like a Twilight Zone-y situation where it's like, yo, let's just move on to the next night. And
Grand Junction, Colorado.
Yeah. I need to get drunk again, pass out on this floor.
Right.
That's when you find out they lose their liquor license. You get those people selling those lumpias in front of Somar and tell them to bring a cooler full of beer.
it was passed. Juneteenth is now a federal holiday in the United States of America to commemorate the slaves in Texas who were free but not freed or knowingly free 2.5 years after the 1962 Emancipation Proclamation by your boy, that po white trash, Abraham Lincoln. So what do you guys think about Juneteenth becoming a federal holiday? Does it make you feel empowered? Does it give you hope? Or does it just reopen the understanding that there's still much more to be done?
For me personally, I'm with the latter, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's equivalent to me of them like deciding to take down the statue of like Robert E. Lee or any other Confederate soldier whose only, accomplishment was to rebel against our country in order to maintain slavery. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, if, people are like, man, why, it's just symbolic or whatever, but these things were put up in the first place to make us forget, what we're really dealing with, and so anything we could do to like serve as a reminder. For me, my ultimate goal is like, Black folks. I don't, to be honest, I don't think we're ready for it yet. But I think, we as a people in this country need to get a form of reparation that allows us to repair on our own terms, which is something we never got the opportunity to do. And so I think it brings us one step closer to that dream because we ain't gonna stop making white people feel bad for any violation of racism, any tinge you gonna get. I don't care what you say, whatever, like what was that dude from the LA Clippers or whatever, Donald Sterling, bro. Yeah, I don't give a fuck what you say about Black people. I want reparations. Until you get us that, we gonna be on.
He got the best reparations. He talks shit and got an extra $2 billion in his pocket.
Yeah, nah. That's what I'm saying, man. I feel like we end up going for these small victories because truly what we want is some real repair. And I think the Juneteenth thing, it ain't the thing. And I don't want people to start confusing it with the thing, just like electing a Black president ain't the thing, but it brings us a step closer to hopefully where we need to be, man.
Yeah, I think, I agree. It's great to get tokens of recognition and appreciation, but still tokens are tokens.
Yeah.
Saying meaningful action and, institutionalized forms of recognition and reparations would be great. And that's one thing that you didn't hear in that Tony Be Conscious clip where he called it Kuhnteenth. That was one thing he was saying. He's like, nah, we need reparations. Fuck Kuhnteenth. I want reparations. Contextually, you in line with what that brother was talking about. So you might want to start calling it Kuhnteenth if you. But AG3, what about you? What is your take on Juneteenth?
I'm gonna follow Dahlak with everything he said, except I'm gonna put my little take on it. I think everything he said and what you said has been absolutely truth and right. I agree. I've been one of those people hollering that since 2008 when Obama first got elected. Like, okay, this is good. This is a nice step in the right direction. We ain't won shit, but it's a good step in the right way. I will say this though. As far as it being a nice little token, a nice little carrot, man, I think it was disrespectful that they put it in the middle of the summer. But I guess it fell in. It's just so funny how the chips fly, knowing how many Black people work in the education system, and we ain't gonna get no paid holiday, a day off, because it's after school's out. It's a federal holiday, so it's the same as like Memorial Day, things like that. Man, fall in the middle of summer. Ain't gonna help me at all as far as work. But I do agree with everything else he said.
I think it's interesting that they would make it a national holiday. I know a lot of people were critical of the fact that we're willing to make it a national holiday, but then there's this big pushback against critical race theory. So it's a disjointed form of, acknowledgement for Black people. And then I think that's one of the challenges and one of the unique things about the United States is that you have, every state has its own sovereignty to a degree. There's a lot of states that are pushing back and not wanting to have critical race theory taught to their kids so we can learn and grow from the foundations of our country and its racial, cultural, and economic past, and how a lot of things that we take for granted today were, put into motion and built into the systems and the forms of, social understandings and mores that we have today. I find it interesting that we have a token holiday, but we're also pushing for these forms to, you know, better educate our youth, to better educate all the youth.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That form is to better educate everybody.
Yeah, to better
our youth.
Well, yeah, our youth. Well, the thing is that when you have a subjected class or oppressed class that isn't even able to learn about itself, and it's even more lost. You know, saying you give them, you know, less direction. Like we're already very much so a lost ethnic or racial group in this country because of our history being so, you know, stunted. And then when we tried to grow within the country, it's been stunted by other, you know, violent acts throughout the years in our formations. So like we've been stunted over and over again. And there's such a gap between our cultural, you know what I'm saying, continental history, that you have a group that is just, you know, saying lost in an abyss of consumerism, and is easily malleable to this consumerism, to this idea of what it is to be a capitalist in this country. So I think being able to hopefully gain that education would give us a new compass by which we can then move forward, you know, and instill our own values and achieve our own goals in future forms. But you know, I do agree with many of the people who are very critical of us getting Juneteenth without critical race theory. Beyond that, it would help everyone else in our country learn so much more about, you know what I'm saying, the racial components to our country and how it played a major factor in the economic and social cultural structures that are alive and thriving today. And the impacts that race and that critical race theory would give them would allow us to be more woke / you know what I'm saying, not, you know, take advantage of forms of privilege or blindly or you know, saying fall into Karenisms or fall into, you know what I'm saying, stereotypes that are degrading to your own people, because you understand the critical ways that this racialized country, you know what I'm saying, played on those things and instilled those things even in the people who are the oppressed and the abused to, you know what I'm saying, inherently, you know what I'm saying, think are ways of validating yourself when maybe it's not the way to validate yourself. So Pedro, what you think?
I didn't hear nothing you said.
Oh, we talking about Juneteenth.
Celebrating Father's Day.
Yeah, he over there. He got the red light on, man. You about to do that? What you about to do that? That silhouette challenge right there, bro.
He about to do his Father's Day. He about to do his Father's Day biscuit and a blowjob challenge.
This how I know. Yeah, seriously. That's how I know Pedro, a grandfather. Even he looked like my grandparents' house in Stockton, California. It's so dark in there.
It's so dark that when a light finally shine, if it go through a color, it just make the whole house seem red or purple.
Yeah, he got that Bill Duke filter on right now.
Yeah.
Prince Philip and DMX both passed away this week, sadly. Or maybe one's more sad than the other, I guess. But
who the hell is Prince Phillips?
It's that dude who's married to that queen that if him and the queen was shaming that beautiful white woman, Meghan Markle, and her beautiful redheaded stepson husband. What's his name?
We got kings and queens out here?
No, in England. England
Negro.
See, his family was on the wrong boat.
Oh man, I thought we only had one president. One president, Joe Biden.
His boat should have went northeast. It's north, not northwest.
Mr. President Trump.
You stupid. Well, I guess my question is, with their passings, one probably leaves a bigger void than the other. But what is the lasting memory that you will have of DMX and Prince Philip? So when we start with Pedro, Prince Philip.
We still got princes out here in the street? I thought that was over with in the 1600s. What was the last king?
Martin Luther King. Rodney King was the last king.
Rodney King. I heard he was the king of Alameda.
Come on.
Where did he live when he got beat up? Didn't he live in, no, was it Azusa?
What are you talking about?
Rodney King.
Rodney King.
He didn't
live in LA. He was or one of them valleys.
What's some fucking old Rodney? We supposed to be talking about Prince Philip. You bringing up where the hell Rodney King was living? Like that shit got to do with me. I don't know. Cedar Brick Apartments in San Bernardino. How am I supposed to know?
We still got a prince? Prince Roger Nelson passed away 5 years ago.
You stupid.
So Prince, I mean, man, that white man didn't have nothing to do with me over here. I was over here struggling when he was born, before he was born, and when he died, and I'm still struggling. He ain't helped my diabetes. He ain't helped my kids. He ain't helped my wife find a job. He ain't did nothing for me. That was all President Obama. For damn about no damn Prince of, where he from? Prince of Germany? Prince of Italy?
Yeah, he's the prince.
One of them Turkey princes? I don't know. No. I thought he was a sheik.
Ask Pedro what he felt about DMX before they stop, before they take away a lot of before they already took away affirmative action out of state schools. They gonna take away all kind of.
That's a king right there. It's a king.
Prince Philip was the Duke of Edinburgh.
The Duke of Edinburgh.
Oh, I thought that was east of Vallejo. Trying to figure out why we talking about a damn prince and we live in America, Jack. Don't know about no damn prince. Plus, he don't like niggas. But damn about him. Man, obviously lived a great life. He was 100 years old.
He was 99. Don't give him 100 times.
He was 100.
Everyone keeps telling me he was 100. He was 99 years old, man.
He was 100. He had a great, privileged, service, white life. And I ain't gonna see nowhere near 99. I'm trying to make it into the 50s.
DMX was 50.
King DMX had a lot of. This man was genuine. You know, I knew where this was going when he said he was he overdosed and he coded, and I was like, yeah, he's not. That's it, guys. And everybody was trying to keep him alive. Everybody was praying. But I knew right there that was it, you know. I knew that was his final journey. But he left so much here with, he was really genuine. He prayed for people. He touched people. In his raps, he rapped in a certain way with so much energy and was speaking so much life at the same time. It's like, how do you get that talent where you just scream something? You know, most of our holler rappers or whatever, they're like hype man, but he was hollering, he was praying for people all at the same time. He was really genuine and he had a rough life. I think his sister came out with a blog. It's just unfortunate that he didn't have the same privilege of that damn Prince you talking about, because he would have been here living a longer life and being a greater man. We don't have those privileges. We got people throwing black children away. That's what his life was growing up as, and what he made of that, just where he came from. And you see all these concerts and stuff that they're posting and how he was beloved. So that's a great man, an unfortunate loss, but I'm glad he left a print on so many people's life. Yeah. A real prince, a real king, and no fake white king.
Damn, Pedro, just giving out titles.
King,
you worse than them, giving out titles.
This white king of France. Nobody know that, nigga.
You were here giving out titles.
That was 16 bars right there. You did.
Pat, how about you?
Yeah, the Prince Philip DMX whole news cycle both happened Friday morning. Seeing both of them was like, yeah, that conversation at the pearly gates is probably really interesting. Just them talking to each other. I can only imagine. But yeah, Prince Philip had no real impact on me. Like you said, DMX was that person who, like, I had his poster on my wall when I was like in 3rd grade, 4th grade, you know? Like, that's what I listened to all of my life, all the time. Like, quote him so often. Belly is saved on my computer. Like, it got to that point that I couldn't even write like a piece about him. Like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. Like, we could chop it up, you know, and I could tell you about the significance of DMX's art and how it showed me that you can be expressive and still be masculine, that you can be bald, you know what I'm saying? That you can be, I'm joking, there's plenty of other bald examples, but no, he just a really genuine personality. Here we go. So I'm listening to Hidden Brain. The host, I butcher his name every time I say his name, is this like Sean Carvadantes or something like that. Anyway, I'm listening to the Hidden Brain podcast and they're talking about how people deceive themselves as a means to like survival. Like, we do this all the time, especially like, take for instance, your friends. you never just like shoot the shit straight with your friends. You kind of lie, you beat around the bush a little bit. And that's like the conscious mind. That's the way we do things. DMX wasn't that type. Like his art was very, very truthful, and for him to be that honest and that open, that candid, and it made for some media blunders, and it made for some offensive language and homophobic lyrics, and just it made for some shit. But given everything that he had been through, you can understand what informed him, what was poured into him, how it was coming out like that. And DMX fans, people who were real, genuine DMX fans, there's a connection that I got to like some of my closest friends because of DMX's lyrics and songs. And so yeah, there's a lot to unpack with his life and his death. I'm still working on that, but yeah, lasting impact for sure.
AG3, how about you? What was it about DMX or Prince Philip for you?
He cried. Aaron cried. He called me. He said, Prince Philip's passed. Passed, man. Go, no, not the Prince. He called me.
Everybody who ever listened to me talk about someone dead, okay, for some reason, death never hits me hard. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was my mom. I don't know, was it just everybody in my family passing away when I was young? It just doesn't hit me in that fact. Like Jared can tell you, Pendarvis, sorry if I say your full name every time. It's just such a great name. You need to hear it. So Jared would tell you, I don't have a problem talking about the dead. My thing is, I like to look at their life as who they were as a whole, not as, like for example, when Kobe passed away, I was like, I'm not going to take away what happened in Colorado and act like and brush it under a rug, right? I'm not going to take away what people, his former teammates say, right? I add that to this legacy of his being a girl dad and everything else now. I added to that because that's how you see this person. It's the journey of their life that makes their life grand and stabbing. DMX is kind of that same way. So just to get Prince Philip out the way, I tell you this, the world will be in a better place. We ain't got to worry about him driving and hitting nobody out there in London. I'm sure there's a lot of people in China don't have to worry about him saying racist shit no more and let it being called gas back then. Look, let me give you some of his greatest things. While on the world tour of China, he once said, and this was, what year was this? This wasn't even late. It's 86. 86. So he's old enough to not say stupid shit, but not old enough to let stupid shit fly out his mouth, right? He called China ghastly. He told British students that if you stay there much longer, you will be all slitty-eyed, right? He also said, if it has 4 legs and not a chair, if it has wings and not an airplane, and swims and not a submarine, the Cantonese will eat it. Is this what his racist ass said? Like I look up his race shit because I can be racist myself. Jared, I'm not one of those people that believe black people can't be racist. Yes, we can. Right? Everybody in this world can be racist, and this motherfucker was a racist. It take a racist to point out a racist, and that motherfucker was racist. When he once asked residents in '94 in the Cayman Islands if most of them descended from pirates. In 2002, he asked the Aboriginal leader when he was in Queensland, do you still throw spears at each other? I mean, this is racial shit. And they're like, oh, man, he had gas. Oh, he was from old school joking. No, he was a racist ass. He was sexist. He asked the Kenyan woman, was she a woman when she gave him a gift? In 88, he says, I don't think a prostitute is more moral than a wife, but they're basically doing the same thing. He was just a sexist ass, dude. A female sea cadet told him she worked at a nightclub and he asked her if it was a strip club. I mean, that was 09. It's like his title allowed him to be racist and sexist.
He's on that Stan Lee tip. Right? He's on a Stan Lee tip. He was just saying whatever the fuck.
Stan Lee said a lot less. Like this dude uses privilege to say a lot more, man. And you know what? And I don't wish anything that is someone's father, that's someone's grandfather, that's someone's uncle that lost their loved one. And I'm sorry for that. But you know what? I mean, life goes on. It's just good we don't have to see someone in the royal family use more of his shit and say bigoted and racist shit, unless they talk about Meghan Markle from now on. And so,
a beautiful white woman.
And then Jared keep calling her white. I don't know why you keep calling her white, man. Anyway, for DMX, DMX for me, it was when rap started moving from hip hop. Pedro, do you remember anybody using the word hip hop when we were younger? I don't remember that word being used.
It
wasn't a term. It was like rap.
It was rap because you couldn't look like, if you look on Genius, it was no word for hip hop.
It wasn't at that time. Yeah. You don't find it in rap. But
matter of fact, there's a little fun fact for you two. You two younger guys. You know they used to put rap music in with R&B. When you used to look through Sam Goody, Warehouse, whatever, all the black music was in the R&B. Old school, new school, didn't matter. It was all in the same category.
So I don't know if you're telling the truth, because I know your ass didn't shop the Sam Goody because it was too fucking expensive, you lying motherfucker. Your ass was buying singles at Warehouse on sale. He over here lying. Don't listen. He did not go to Sam. We would walk in Sam Goody and walk the fuck out because it was like everything was $17 in there. And in the 90s, that was a lot of fucking money. We were making $5 an hour. He did not buy anything from Sam Goody.
The point was that hip hop has always been around. What do you mean?
It's always been around, but that term wasn't used a lot back then. It was rap. Like if you're a rap, like that was the way you separated it from R&B. It was rap, and then it was R&B. And then around the time of like the mid to late 90s, when rap became this billion-dollar industry, you started hearing the term hip hop more, and you started seeing the fusion of it. Right, you started seeing Puffy and people more sampling, and not the sampling the old R&B beats, but now you're starting to see like rappers and R&B singers on the same song. And you started hearing the word hip hop a lot more, and it became a billion-dollar industry back in '99. It started becoming a little too popcorny for me, right? All the videos had Hype Williams video. They were shiny. I was just not digging it no more until DMX came around, and that changed my whole world. I was like, I can still listen to this rap, right? Like, good. This is it. This ain't all this commercialized shit. Like after Tupac and Biggie died, the commercialization just really took off. And then DMX came. And then his second album, which came out the same year, was even harder than the first. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of Blood. I thought people were lying to me because I'm like, ain't no artist came out with the album that soon, right? And they're like, he got a second album. I'm like, what? Me and my boy ran up to Tower Record, not Sam Goody. You know, what the fuck this motherfucker talking about? He probably bought music at Suncoast Video. Somehow Pedro was rich and hiding it on. He must have been hiding his money in the alley on Florence. Talking about he shop at Sam Goody. So when the Tower Records on Telegraph bought that shit, and that shit, man, to this day, one of the few, it's always on the phone. Whole album. I transferred the CD to a computer to put it on my phone. And look, I'm a big R&B fan. That's the thing you gotta understand. I'm a big R&B fan. So when he came out with what's really going on, like that touched me. That shit touched me. I don't know nobody in Yonkers. You know, when that shit happened, I was like, wow, this motherfucker's speaking to me, man. You know? At that time, I had this African-American girlfriend that was yelling at me about going to class. So that shit hit like
an American girl.
And I'm like, who the fuck she with, right? She, you know, it was the opposite. She was yelling who the fuck I was with. I was like, oh shit. And that was the thing. It was much needed. The timing was perfect. He was the person we needed. Another crazy ass story. One of our boys, Nathan, I could drop his name on here. He'd been on the show before. Nathan went to a DMX concert. It was right around the Trump administration, right? When it first started. DMX at the concert in Philly, I believe, because Nathan was living in Virginia at that time. He's like, this is the craziest shit. It was this old black guy on stage. He brings this old black guy on stage wearing overalls. And he tells the audience, this is my dad. I just met him for the first time today. I was like, that's DMX. And it made me laugh, but I'm like, that's DMX who he is. Like Pedro said, like both of you guys said, genuine. Just genuine who he was, didn't hide. I mean, you can say Prince Philip was genuine too, genuine racist, but DMX was genuine, man. Just genuine. Like I met him for the first time today. I'm going to bring him on stage. Y'all gonna see. Man.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday, the intro to that soundtrack is a DMX intro. Blew my mind.
For real. That's crazy.
My niggas.
He's like the Ray Lewis of rap.
Except without that shitty ass dancing and the getting down on two knees.
Well, DMX did have some shitty dancing. He also didn't catch a body. But
yeah, he didn't kill nobody, I guess. But he did say he was a stick-up guy. He said this lyric one time.
1 knee is for the team, 2 knees is for Jesus.
That's why DMX couldn't be Ray Lewis. You can't compare him to Ray Lewis because DMX would be on 1 knee when Ray Lewis on 2.
He's like, I'm on 2 knees. Nah, you know, DMX was tight. I didn't listen to his shit that much, so I know for y'all listen to him way more than me. And my brother listened to him a lot, but I'll still listen to oldies and shit and Sam Cooke. So
because DMX has a song called on Rough Riders Volume 1 has a song called like some X shit or something. It's like track 13. It's in the back of the album. It's a sample of the Ohio Players' Funky Worm. And it's like, what is DMX doing rapping over the Ohio Players' Funky Worm? You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm an old school lover as well, you know what I'm saying? And it'd be dope to hear the samples with this screaming, raging You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was the beauty of DMX. Is he, like you said, he would be on these old school R&B. Like R&B was starting to get to a point where it was too poppy. I mean, rap. And he would take an old school R&B and rage over it instead of being all poppy and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make some commercial ass shit." He was like, "Nah, I'm gonna have my shirt off. I'm gonna cry about my fucking dogs, and I'm gonna be out here screaming." Irv Gotti said when Jay-Z was questioning putting him on, him and Dame Dash questioning putting Jay-Z on, Irv Gotti was trying to get him on. He said more people that live in the hood are like him than they are y'all, and that's the truth.
The one thing that I remember from DMX, other than like his style though, like I think energy he brought and the rawness and grittiness of what he was saying, and that like Pedro said, bring that energy, and how do you put like energy in those words the way he did was something that was like remarkable. And I think for him to put out 3 albums like in the span of 2 years was even like just as remarkable. Like he put out this block of he put out this block of content and just expression that I think it's kind of like Tyson as a boxer, kind of like he has his legacy, and it just like it was something else beyond that, right? But everyone will remember that era of Tyson in boxing. I feel like DMX was kind of that person who came in and hit the hip hop or rap world so hard with this stuff that like he is 20 plus years later, people still know the name, people still know his shit. A lot of his stuff is still being used because of the energy and the sound. Some is more poppy or mainstream stuff, obviously, but everyone just knows that era, like that was DMX, and then he was able to spawn other things off it with the Rough Riders, and then bringing Steven Seagal into the 2000s with some movies he did with them. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, man, Steven Seagal still got it. My boy DMX over here cradling to the grave and shit. I was like, I fucks with this movie, but there's something genuine about him. And even though he kind of fell off, or he was, he, as you age, you fall off as an artist, or you become less, in the spotlight, you still like think about it. When you think about hip hop, you still, he still come to mind. Like just like when you think about boxing, Tyson still comes to mind. He kind of set a bar and a standard that like will always be that lasting legacy, which is unique because not a lot of artists have that. Like a lot of artists can be very commercially successful, or have an album that does really well and it's like the album of the year, but people will forget about it in a couple years. Or people are like, yeah, I remember that jam. That was a cool little era. That was a tight little jam. But like, you kind of move on from that music. Whereas I feel like X is like, that shit is like some cornerstone type shit in hip hop history. So Prince Philip, I didn't know that there was still a Prince when he died. So, it is what it is. I was kind of like,
no. He can't become a king because he's not of that lineage, even though he was married to the queen. So that's why he's still called Prince Philip.
Sound like he got a raw deal. Apparently he's twice as royal as his wife though, but he ain't got the queen.
She wasn't part of the right lineage, so he couldn't become. It's like Meghan Markle. Like let's say, what's her name? Whatever one's married to that goofy looking one. That's Charles' oldest son.
Oh yeah, shit, Caitlyn. No,
I don't know his name. Bill. I don't know. I don't know. He becomes king, so his wife can never become queen. She'll always be princess because she's not part of the lineage.
That's that bitch's
Kate
name.
Middleton can
I
never.
won't forget a beautiful white woman's name.
She can never become a queen. She can only be princess. Oh, just to give you another Prince Philip quote before we go. He told the president of Nigeria that he looked like he was ready for bed because the president of Nigeria was dressed in a traditional robe.
Come on.
He once told a 13-year-old who told him he wanted to be an astronaut that he should lose some weight. This motherfucker was a walking Twitter.
In this project, what is a goal or an ideal that you have as you continue to work on this project about his time in Hawaii?
Well, first of all, yes, that quote is a reflection of the core of the speech that he gave there. So he spoke before the first legislature of the Hawaiian House of Representatives. It was the first time they ever met. It was 3 weeks after Hawaii became a state, and he came and shared that speech about his hope for us to move away from extremes. But still today, we're sitting in those extremes. And he talked about something that I thought was super corny when I was younger. He talked about love. And I was like, man, like, oh, whatever. Everybody love. What does that mean, right? But it's really like, I think that there's a lack of love, I think, in terms of how we deal with each other, how we move. And I think that in the same way that we want white folks and we want this America to have love for us, because I feel very connected to my Americanism. Like I own being a part of America, and I have uncles who fought in every branch of the military. My dad was an Army guy. I have cousins who are on the police forces. I'm saying I'm not gonna like give up. This is my place, right? I deserve this place. My family gave hours and years of free labor to this country, so I feel like I own this, right? But so I want love from America, but as Black folk, we also need to start that love with ourselves. And I think the love and the grace means that, all right, if you have a little bit of homophobia on you, I can't kick you out. Like this whole idea of cancel culture has to move to the side, at least for the next 2 years. Our focus has to be on how do we find those things we're common on. I'm not saying that I'm saying that we learn how to really do the thing that I hate. People will say they're like, I can, it's not like embracing people, but they're like, I will let you be, right? The idea, I'm gonna let you be who you are, and I'm not gonna try to make you change. And instead of focusing on the things I don't like about you, I'm gonna love you, and I'm gonna focus on the things I do. And I think that's what we have to do in this moment, is figure out what the fuck do we want, and put together a plan to get it. Those things we can agree on. And my big question for you all is like, what is it, man? What do y'all want? Because I know, I'm a little bit older, and so my generational perspective is, it's like I have a list I'm putting together. I talked to a brother who's the president of the NAACP in Hawaii, and for a long time I hadn't been like engaging with my elders who are part of the organizations and stuff. But now I'm seeing the necessity, man. That time with King and the studying this is like, all right, we got to reach out. We got to reach out to our elders who may not see the world the way we do. We have to reach out to Black Lives Matter folks who may not see the world the way we do. We need to get into the spot where we claim the power we have shown in this election, right? Because this election is a derivative of the Black Lives Movement. It's this moment that we're in. It's like the organization of Black folks who came together because they didn't want to see Black people get killed anymore. Which, let me be very clear, Black Lives Matter, people articulate it as this extreme organization. No, it's one simple ask: please stop killing Black people. It's really not that deep. And I think the rest of things people fear in terms of the left-wing progressive agenda, like, no, if you stop killing Black people, we'd be happy. Black Lives Matter folks would be happy, and we can move on to the next actionable item, to quote Jay-Z, right? We can't, but my critique of that, I was thinking about that as random, but it's like we can't move to the next actionable item until you stop killing Black people, right? So we got to have, in this next year, figure out what those 3 to 5 things we need to make happen in order to be able to move on, and then to be able to sort of move on together as a country, move on together as a people. So, that's what I'm hoping I inspired people to get to a point where they say, okay, I don't have to agree with everything a person represents in order to find those things we have in common and focus on them and deliver them for Black people in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So something that keeps coming up that I hear with you is that the idea of us all coming together, but in my perspective, I feel like we're just so splintered as a people, and so at each other's necks about being perfect, about having that sort of like clean record, that no one with a real voice can really stand up and say, I'm that dude. Like an MLK or a Malcolm X, you knew exactly who the leader was, you know who was in the inner circle, and everybody else is like, either you're with this or you need to shut up right now, right? So that's why we can have like a 50 Cent say, I'm gonna support Trump. We can have Lil Wayne say, I'm gonna support Trump, and everybody say, oh yeah, he sold 1 million records, he must have some value in this conversation, as opposed to like, oh, he's a senator, or he actually is doing this work out there. And I don't know, it's such a weird time to try to come together, number one, because as we started with like Generation X, like teaching that generation that you're an individual, but then having the millennial generation say you're an individual and you can control the world around you, right? So you don't have to watch any TV shows that you don't have to watch, right? You don't have to look at anything on the internet that you don't have to watch, right? So you're so much into your own sort of bubble. How do you break down at least part of that to connect with somebody that you may not 100% agree with?
So I had this conversation with the brother, his name is Virgil Roberts. Virgil Roberts is a fairly well-known attorney in LA. He's a Black attorney, represents a lot of Black clients. And he's a mentor. And I sort of was having that conversation with him, and he was like, you can look at it like that, or you can look at the reality that we have so many awesome leaders now. We have so many people. Back then, there were very few people who were qualified to be king, right? In this generation, we have so many people who have qualified, who studied, who's done the community work, who's earned it, right? And I think that that's a part of it. It's like, first of all, it's a blessing to have so many, to be overblessed in terms of people who had the capacity to lead folks. And I think that's awesome. But the answer to it ain't that deep, as my mama would say. It really is just about starting with this moment, with the space we're in right now. And it's about really starting with love and not thinking of it as so complicated. I'm saying it like, I don't know. I think about somebody like Killer Mike. Killer Mike has some very problematic sexism issues for me. So as a guy who's the father of two young girls, I have issues with the sexism that exists in the Killer Mike thing. And he's.
Hope y'all heard that, Jared.
So he's but when it comes to the politics he's articulating, the idea of Black economic independence, I agree. So it's about saying I love him enough to be like, look, brother, I will share with you if you ask about my perspective on some of the views you have on women, right? Like I have an issue with that, but that's not the point now. Love allows me to let you have grace and time, and God will deal with you on that. And instead, let's just focus on this. Like, let's Black economics. What is our plan for Black economics? And yes, we need leaders like that. We need leaders who don't marginalize people, who are not, because the way politics works, politics is not where we get our leaders from. Politics is about focusing on differences and highlighting those differences to isolate your people from the other people. And love is not about that. Love is about, look, I want to focus on the things we agree on. I want to find those mediums. And I'm saying that's the way it is. Like, I'm going to provide you grace on everything. You are imperfect, Brandon. I don't know all the imperfections, but I'm sure your boys will kick in and let me know. But you're imperfect. But your imperfections are not the focus of my interaction with you. My focus is like, bro, hey, so I hear what you're saying. It's really tough, right? But what is it we want to get done? Can you and I come up with some ideas of what we want to see done? Let's focus on that. Let's knock it out.
Yeah, I'll just tell you this real quick about Brandon's imperfections. He had me put in, I might as well got a pilot's license to become a third wheel, because the amount of different times I met up with Brandon, he was meeting up with another different beautiful woman that I was like, hold up, this is a new person now? Oh man, now I gotta do the whole third wheel thing again, where I gotta learn this person's backstory and act like I'm really interested. Brandon, can we get drunk yet?
Favorite Black comedian, and
yes.
So where can people support your film?
Yeah, let's do that.
Favorite Black comedian is Dave Chappelle. He most definitely has good company, from people like Richard Pryor. But in this generation, Dave just talks the best shit, man. He just is really insightful, but funny as hell. Like it's just like Dave Chappelle is for sure. There's nobody close in this generation.
Really? Wow.
There's nobody close. So
he said in this generation. He didn't say like how would you compare Eddie Murphy stand up to Dave Chappelle?
Well, Eddie Murphy was, but he's a mainstream dude, right? So when you talk about commercial versus independent people, like Eddie talked about life stuff and about stuff that everybody could relate to.
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle talks about Black shit. Like Dave Chappelle talks about Black shit, even though it's accessible to mainstream. He articulates a Black perspective on his current moment in time, and he always feels like he says what I have in my head and my heart, like in ways that really move me. So that's for sure my guy.
Okay. And then where can people find your work, and where can they find you to access more of your knowledge and the work you're doing?
Most definitely. Check out www.akinginparadise.com, which is the project that I'm working on. And from that, you can connect to my social and my website and the rest of the stuff. But that's what I'm focusing on in this moment. Right now, we're raising funds to do the work of setting that project up, which is really about a movement to answer the question, what's next? using the story of MLK's time in Hawaii as a backdrop to have that conversation. So I'm excited about doing the project, man. It's been awesome. And again, like it's taught me love in a way that's like made me be open to not like, I'm telling you, Edward knows, I get, you know, it's hard. The haterade comes out sometime, you know, because when you see people doing wrong, you just, you know what I mean? You see people doing wrong, you just want to spank them. But I think now I'm trying to be a little more kinder.
Okay, perfect. And once again, it's www.akinginaparadise.com.
That's it.
Awesome. Can Black people save baseball?
Is that a serious question? Hold on a second.
So in our this past couple months with baseball, we've been, you know, exalting the different Black players, Black diaspora players that are, you know, infusing the game.
So don't have me go. Black people save everything. Next.
I told y'all. And last question: how many screenshots are on your phone?
Oh my God. I just deleted 7,700 of them.
Oh, that's more than me. No.